Hello, ladies and gents. I hope you're well. Hope you had a fantastic week so far. This week, I wanted to share an interview I did a couple of months back with Stuart. Now, Stuart is a sales trainer, and he has done, through the power of Zoom and in person, he's done sales training all over the world. He knows his stuff, and he helps businesses get better at sales and increase and create revenue for their businesses. So I thought it would be very relevant to share this conversation with you this week as we're looking into some interesting times ahead. So thank you ever so much for coming back. I'm going to hand over to Stuart to explain a little bit more about what he does and why he does it, and I'll see you in just a moment.
Afternoon all. My name is Stuart Pearce. I'm a sales trainer, or the sales trainer, if you like. I have been doing that for over 20 years. I am very lucky in the fact that I've managed to train people in Hong Kong, Cape Town, Dubai, all over England, etc., etc. I've even had time to write 3 books. Now, in all that time, the one thing I refuse to do is train everyone the same. Because we are not the same. You can't just shoehorn a method into everyone. It doesn't work like that because we're all different. So that's how we train you to sell like you, basically.
And I really appreciate the time, Stuart. And I think the reason why I wanted to bring you on because people ask me why do I choose the guests I choose and etc. And for me, it's always about value. And I think for me, as we were discussing briefly before the show started, I think sales is this big I know I need to do it, but it's really scary, or I know I need to do it.
It's the elephant in the room,
Yeah,
Carlson.
yeah, and it's this kind of I don't know how to do it, and I don't know what to do, and especially when I started out, I was like, oh, this is a scary thing. What if I get a no? What if someone says no? What if someone doesn't want to work with me, right? I mean, obviously, without giving all the game away, I mean, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe starting out in business, who's I know I need to start doing sales, I know I need to start maybe working on my sales, or actually getting into that rhythm, but what are the some of the psychological hurdles that we as starting out business owners or salespeople will run into at the start that are quite simple to, I guess, remove or get more comfortable with the idea of doing?
Okay, so I guess the first thing to say on this, most people who start working for themselves do it because they have a passion for something. A passion for design, a passion for video, a passion for whatever it might be, yeah? That's one, because I love this and I want to do it every day because I love it that much. Weirdly for me, it's sales training, but there you go. So, but that's where people normally start their own business. Okay. Now, I said this at an event a while ago, and I'm going to say it again now. The number one skill for any business is the ability to create revenue. If you're not creating revenue, not paying your bills, you've got a hobby. Now, that being said, every business has to sell. You could be the best web designer that ever lived, if you like. If you can't persuade other people of that fact, it's irrelevant. Now, I hear the phrases, I can't sell, I don't want to be salesy, I don't want to be pushy, blah, 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 every week. There's a couple of things happening there. Most person's vision of a salesperson is some pinstripe suit, red braces, hardcore geezer's going to sell sand to the Arabs. Pointless escapade for a start. And they don't want to be that person. That's a good thing. The other thing is they've been sold to badly. It left a nasty taste in their mouth for them. They don't want to do that to their customers. That's what's generally happening there. The way to look at it is, okay, let's just throw this in right at the start. When I train people normally, the first time to give them 5 tips. Before that, I'll ask them 3 questions. So listeners can do this. 3 questions are you good at what you do? Do your clients benefit from it when you do it for them? And could you sell it to your best friend and still be their best friend? If you get 3, I see.
Yeah, I was going, yes, and yes.
But if you can say yes to those 3, that's a pretty good start. The rest you can learn or be taught. Okay. So, but if you don't have the confidence in your own ability, your own business, your own whatever, your own widget, then you're going to struggle to sell it. Because if you don't believe it, why should I? Yeah. So that's the 3 questions. And ask yourselves those. If you get yeses, that's a pretty good start. Stop running the rest you can learn. Yeah. Now, the next bit I do is I'll give them 5 tips. And when I train people, everything I do is brought back into those 5 things. Okay. So number 1 is it's about you. No, try that again. It's about them, not you. Try that again. It's about them, not you. Getting ahead of myself there. So if you go into, I would suggest to all the listeners you've got, as of this minute, stop using the word sales pitch. Because what it does is it puts fear into us. I've got a pitch now, and we all get scared. I'll get to why in a minute, but don't use that word. It scares us all, and that's why we don't like sales. Okay, so tip one, I'll do it properly this time. It's about them, not you. Okay, if you go into a meeting or a networking event or whatever else it is, trying to sell to that person, you won't. The subconscious mind is something like 30,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. So if you go in, got to sell this, got to pitch them, you'll blow it. You'll mess it up because your head's in the wrong place. People don't generally like being sold to. You know, when you go to a networking meeting, there's always that one guy that comes straight up to you and starts selling.
Hey, do you need this? I know you have this problem.
For a couple of weeks, exactly. But after a couple of weeks, everybody avoids him because of that very fact, because he's gone in trying to sell. If you go in trying to help, in every concept, I promise you the sales will come. Because I go, thank you, I like that. Can you do that for me? That's how it works. So that's number one. It's about you. No, it's about them again, really. It's about them, not you. My first cup of tea for the day, Con, that's why. It's about them, not you. There we go.
Absolutely. And,
right, number two.
Just to build off that point quickly before you move on to number two, I think there's a really important point there, which is this is a sales conversation. Yes, of course, when you get to the point of sale, but the same is true in marketing, right? People go and they say when they're communicating what they do, they say to me, oh, I need to talk about me. I need to talk about me. I'm like, no, you don't. The whole point of marketing is to say, hey, person I'm talking to, audience member, etc. This is how I can help you. This is why you need to care about video. This is why you need to care about sales. This is why you need to care about this dishwasher, whatever it may be. And you're saying, I'm the person who can help you or support you in this area. I am the expert. I am the perceived expert in the respect to, in comparison. And we're not saying we're perfect by any means. No, of course not. What we're saying is, I'm the expert in comparison to yourself, in comparison to the person I'm trying to help, because I can speed your time up. I can do it quicker because I've got more experience in it. And also, you know, do you necessarily want to be a videographer? Do you want to learn? Do you want to, you know, work out how to work a camera? The answer is no. What? Why? But you want the benefit of doing video, right? So then just skip to the outcome. Don't worry about pissing around, learning a camera, buying a camera, this and that. If you have it as a hobby, I would actually suggest you maybe invest in some coaching or some training to say, actually, yeah, let's teach you how to do it yourself using a DSLR, or let's teach you how to, you know, in your case, maybe let's teach you how to sell, right? Because it's something which, especially for me, I think it's something that becomes very personal, because your style of selling and how you end up selling becomes personal. But anyway, what was number two?
So number two is you've got to build value and urgency. So if you're talking to them about your wonderful widget, but they can't see the value of it to them, why would they buy it? Now, here's what happens in today's world. If they see the value, but you don't show them the urgency of doing it with you now, all they do is go, thanks so much, lovely to chat. They come off that call and they go, right, Google. And they'll find the cheapest one of what you do. So you've got to show them the value. You've got to show them the urgency. Now, don't mistake value for monetary value. It will be sometimes, but not always. It's the value to that person of, like you said, having you to do it for them because they're not the expert you are. Someone said to me the other day, are you the best? And I went, no. And I said, and if I ever say that, I'll stop doing what I do, because I should never be the best. I should always be learning to do better at what I do so I can help my clients better. Anybody who tells you they're the best at this, that, and the other is kidding themselves and you. I will never be the best at what I do, so I never stop learning.
Yeah, and I think,
and that's what we're talking about getting an expert.
One of the best pieces of advice I was ever given: if you're standing still, you're actually being left behind, because the industries, any industry, mine, yours, whoever's listening, is always moving forward. There's always new things. There's always new, you know. Yeah. So if you're not
minute your competitor moves forward, you got left behind. Absolutely.
So you have to keep moving. You know, we're hearing this a lot about, you know, I'm sure we'll get into the recession a bit as well, but it's like, things are going to get tight, you know, etc. Things are getting difficult, etc., 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 etc. And I'm just like, well, okay, this is a golden opportunity for you to have ridiculous amounts of time that you otherwise wouldn't have, because when the economy was good, the phone never stopped ringing, in theory, which is great. Congratulations, well done, hooray, right? So you're busy serving clients, great, fantastic. However, now you're in a position where you've maybe got less client work, but you've now got this massive opportunity of time. Okay, so are you going to go and relax with your family? That's not a bad thing. by the way, right? That's completely justified, completely good. But are you also going to use some of that time to grow your business? Are you going to also think about being strategic? Are you also saying, okay, well, what are we doing with our content? Okay, well, who do we have on? What members of staff do I need to train? What members of staff do I need? What members of staff do I maybe need to let go? Etc. 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 All of these kind of decisions can be made once you give yourself that time. And something I just want to mention that I mentioned to you just before the podcast started was something that I started about the start of Q4 this year, was flipping my time schedule so that the first 4, maybe 5 hours of the day was only given to income generating tasks. Now, that's quite easy for me to say because what that means kind of changes upon where we are in production and whether I'm selling or whether I need to find some more work or whatever. But the reality of the fact is, it's about having that kind of vision and that focus on what is the income generating task I can do first thing, right? Now, arguably, there's also some days like today where there maybe isn't many income generating tasks, and also we're in the run up to Christmas at the time of recording. So is there really much point in me trying to go and sell because people are probably not going to be in the mood and or not
No,
ready?
no, 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 no. Come on.
I
Right.
knew you would say that.
Someone says to me in December, "Oh, nobody's buying." Right, let's just be clear, okay? In December, all people are doing is buying. We're in buying mode for the whole of December because Christmas comes anyway. So we are all buying all through December. What's happening there is you're making an excuse to fail in December. Oh, nobody's buying a so.
That's extremely, that's very true. Now I'm going to give you the counter argument. Now it's going to be very exciting. The counter argument for me is there is a certain amount of time in production time, right? That happens, right? Production time at most takes at least takes 2 weeks, at most takes 2 months, right? Yeah. There is a point where if I'm talking about a project and we haven't signed it, in the next week, there isn't much point because we're going to have a big gap of 2 weeks because everyone's going to go on Christmas break. Arguably, that might be an excuse. You might have a fair argument that that's an excuse. However, there is also a legitimate business growth decision I'm making here, which is I have a lot of internal stuff I need to focus on soon. That means I need to get the client work off my plate, and I don't really want to fill my plate with more client work because then I can't do the stuff I need to do in that window because it's the only window a year I get it.
But that's different. You're making a conscious choice to not sell then, if you like. Yeah? What we're talking about here is people making an excuse that in December nobody's buying. In terms of your business, what you're doing is you're making a conscious choice that this will work better if we do it this way. That's entirely different, Carl. What I'm saying is people will go, oh, nobody's buying in December. But yet that's all they're freaking doing.
But don't get me wrong, like we've got productions in December because I went and sold like 2-3 weeks ago. Great, fantastic. And, very grateful to have them.
You go back to my last point, if you show them value, they'll wait. They'll go, oh, yeah, okay, I understand that. Yeah, fine, we'll skip. Yeah? It really is what you make of it. If you want the excuse, oh, no one's buying, no, Christmas break now, oh, I won't bother. What you're doing then is in January, you're panic selling, trying to get back up to speed. Whereas if you line stuff up for after Christmas in December, ready for January, we'll touch base. That's different. So it's about how you want to play it. What you're talking about is that conscious choice of, right, I've got lots of stuff to do that isn't sales, so I need to do that, otherwise the rest falls apart. That's a conscious choice. What I'm talking about is making an excuse that, oh, nobody's buying in December. But I'll say it again. That's all they're doing in December. They're buying.
Because we're in a Christmas buying mood, right? Because we're in a gifting mood.
But that's absolutely. They're clicking credit card numbers all the time. Yeah. It's just an excuse to not do it or yeah, it's December. I remember helping with a call center a few years ago who were doing that kind of old newspaper subscription thingy, like where the local paper half price for 6 weeks, 3 miles expensive or whatever it was, and they would traditionally close like 17th of December and not start again. And I went, why? Do people not read in the second half of December? No, so I'll tell you what, let's run it for that week in between. And just to be fair, I'll come in as well. So I came in for free to help the guys with that week, stay with them until 7, that sort of stuff, just to make the point, no, you can work, I'm going to stay at home, fair's fair. We sold something like 270 new subscriptions in that 5 days. But they would have left. They wouldn't have got those because they'd have stopped at the 17th and come back in January. Because they convinced themselves that, oh, well, it won't work. I wasn't trying to be clever. I just didn't understand why you would not be selling in those times. But people are at home. You phone homeowners, people are at home. They're off for Christmas. What they'll do is read the paper. Let's call it, kind of stuff. I wasn't trying to be clever with it. I'm just saying our customers are homeowners. People are going to be at home during that week. Makes sense
so
to have a
surely
chat.
that would be exactly. So that would be the perfect timing to then get them available, because they are going to be available.
Because they're sat at home for Christmas. I wasn't trying to be clever. I was like, well, our customers are there waiting for us to phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so yeah, it wasn't trying to be clever about it. It's like, well, it just makes sense. If they're going to be there on the end of the phone, let's get on
And
with
I think
that.
I think it's a really important point sometimes that because in social media land we go, we're going to put this content out and it's going to print us money and etc etc etc. And I'm known for this, and I'm could we put out a lot of content, but what I think sometimes people misunderstand about why content works and why everyone's screaming content is because it's the long tail. It's not a client or a potential client or a prospector, etc., might see my content. I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with a potential client who said he'd been watching my content for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like, until that point, we hadn't had a conversation. I had the same with a coaching client a couple of weeks ago. We're catching up next week. And, he was like, I've been watching your content for like 6 months before I made the decision. And then I went to the website and then I booked in a free call. And it's like, those things happen naturally when you're consistent. They're not your bloodline, though. They're not the things that you should rely on to be like, oh, it's going to be fine because my system is going to give me work.
Yeah. But if your system works, yeah.
But it has to work consistently, and for me, I'd rather be ridiculously proactive on getting the work, creating an offer that's a no-brainer, than going to market, going directly to customers, and then saying, hey, look, we've got this thing. Do you want to buy this shiny thing? Hey, look, it's a shiny thing.
Carlton, sales is about consistency. If you're not consistent in your own approach, then your leads will not come consistently. Therefore, you'll have consistent work. It's really quite simple. People kind of do try and overcomplicate sales and have all these weird and wonderful methods and this, that, and the other. And there's probably about a dozen sales books on the shelf next to me, alongside mine, obviously, where people are, but it's as simple as it's like with networking, with LinkedIn, whenever it says you have to be consistent. No good just being on LinkedIn. You've got to actually use it. It's no good having a sales process if you don't follow it. Consistency is the key.
Yeah. I mean, something which, I've been told multiple times is actually focus on the rejections, because once you start doing the reps, let's say I want to get 50 rejections in the next week, right? Let's say it's a no for whatever reason. That's nothing personal, whatever, fine, it is what it is, right? But if I focus on getting the 50 no's, within that, I'll probably get 3 or 4 yeses. Cool. Or 10 or whatever, however many it is, right? Yeah. And in that process, you're not focusing on the wins, you're focusing on the action. The actionable steps, or the action of doing it, right? So, okay, I need to get 50 no's. I need to send 15, 20 messages a day for the next 5 days. Cool. Okay, cool. So now you build that into your routine, and that's what I mean about income generating tasks, right?
But here's the thing for you, okay? When they say no, is it a no, or is it an opportunity?
I mean, you should always, when it's a no, you should always explore where the objection is, what's
is that an opportunity to find out what's gone wrong, therefore why they've said a no? Because it's all very English, but we're a bit worried about asking, why is that? Why don't you want me, sort of thing, almost, But no, if you see the no's or the rejections, you put them as an opportunity, some of those will come back in. Because it might just be that you missed something in the conversation you had that was the decider for them, but you didn't mention it. When you talk about after, okay, that makes a difference, and away you go,
Yeah. It might also be a timing thing for them, or it might be something simple, they just can't afford that priced product.
There will be legitimate reasons why they said no. There'll be some fluffy, pantsy ones as well, rubbish ones, but there will be people in there who have good legitimate reasons as to why it's a no. And let me pick up on that third tip, right? So number one, get it right this time. It's about them, not you, right? Number 2 is value and urgency. Number 3 is have a conversation. People ask me, I don't know how many times over the years, about building a rapport. No, how long does it take to build a rapport? My answer is always, well, I don't know who you're talking to. How well do you know them? What do you know about them? There is no set time. I've seen sales managers train people to go, right, 5 minutes rapport, 5 minutes. It doesn't work that way, because 2 minutes gets in the way. Rapport is about finding common ground. Do we really think that I'm going to spend $5,000 with you because you asked me how the weather was? it's a fairly strong no, Colton, but people do it. Oh, have you been on holiday this year? How did you cope with COVID is the new one, You really think that's going to be think, oh, well, that was great. Yeah, now how much money can I give you? It's not going to happen. Rapport is about common ground. Now, if someone has made an inquiry to you, they have an interest in what you offer. There's your common ground. Stop trying to be fluffy. Do you know when people phone and they go, how are you today? All that does is scream sales call. So straight away, the arms are folded back. So, oh, here we go. Here's wait for the sales pitch, Rapport is about finding common ground. If someone's made an inquiry into your business, they have an interest in what you do. There's your common ground. Talk about that, what they're doing now, how they have managed it so far, how you could possibly help, give a couple of suggestions, that kind of stuff. So have that. That's number 3. Have a conversation. Remember, I said don't say sales pitch. If you go into that meeting to have a conversation with them about where you could possibly help, that's entirely different. Subconscious mind takes over, and you're like, okay, I'm here to help. And now and again, your help is they go, brilliant, thanks. When can we get started? Yeah. Now, number 4 is follow the process. Now, the process is yours. It's not my process or Carlton's process or John Paul, George and Ringo's process. It's the process that works for you. The amount of times I say to people when I first touch them, right, send me the flowchart of your sales process. And then we get tumbleweeds because they haven't got one. And I'm like, well, then how do you know what's working? Or conversely, what's not working? How do you know what's happening? It's like, oh, I can't sell. Has your business got clients? Yes. Well, then you can sell. You might not know what you said to get that sale and never have to repeat it, but that's what a process is for. It's as simple as this. When you've got something that works and got you a sale, keep doing it. Stick to it. It won't work every time, but that's why number 5 tip is don't panic, because it won't work every time. You cannot sell to everyone. I don't care what the Wolf of Wall Street tells you. You cannot sell to everyone. It's not possible. I have marketing and lead generation people come to me and try and get me to use them, and they'll say, well, if I give you 10 leads a week, how many would you close? And I'll always say half. And they go, really? You're a sales trainer? Yes, I'm also a realist and a grown-up. You give me 10 strong leads, I'll have half of those into clients. And some better, some worse, but on average, half of those, because I'm very good at what I do. Yeah? Anybody who thinks they can close everyone is kidding you and themselves. It's just because human nature gets in the way. It's not possible.
I think it's a really important point, right? Because I think so many people, especially when they start with marketing or they start with anything, and in general, actually, you're in life, like you shouldn't be and you can't be everything to everyone, right? And the point is actually focus on that people are going to move in and out of your life. There's going to be people who you're going to keep very close for a long time, family, friends, etc. Sure. But also some of those people are going to disappear because you're going to grow, you're going to change, you're going to develop, you're going to have different interests, etc. And the thing is, it's about creating an understanding and being okay with that and being, we could go really into your own beliefs here about it, but I won't. But the crux of it is like tie your own happiness to what you do. And, just excluding like business for a second, tie your own happiness and fulfillment for what you do from what you do every day yourself. Not what your partner does, not what your friend does, not what we do, what you do, right? Because the reason why 95% of businesses will go under this recession is because they lose the fire and the passion for what they do. They give up. They go, oh, it's hard. Okay, I'm not going to bother, right?
I think I joked about this with you before when we talked before, and I said, look, if I didn't need the money, I'd still do this because I love it. I must be okay. Stu, calm down, because I get really, as well as I get really excited about this stuff. But I love it with a passion, really do. When you get to that point where you train somebody and it clicks for them, the light goes on or whatever, and from then on, it's so much easier training because they've got I've got the bit now. I've worked. Yes, great. The light's gone on, so and so. So I would do this for free if I didn't need to pay my bills.
Yeah. And I think the goal of business long term is to be able to do it. Like I'm in a very fortunate position where, to be honest, there's stuff I can get better at. Yeah, there's stuff I need to do better at. Yeah, there's stuff we need to grow with. But the work will look after itself now, right? Like I've built the system so it works and it will just give me leads or I've trusted in myself and I've proven to myself that I can generate significant amount of revenue in a very quick period of time by creating a deal and then going to market with it. Simple as that. So when you have that skill set and you actually truly believe you have that skill set, you're just chill every day. You're like, okay, let's see what today has, etc. And then you can focus on what I'm really focusing on now, which is meaningful change, right? Whatever that means for you, right? The issue, if you really want to get into, like, I won't get into political ideology, but that's where it comes from, is like meaningful change for me and you are going to be different, and meaningful change for Barbara is going to be different, and a meaningful change for Bob is going to be different. The point again is to do things for yourself, is to make sure that your focus and your driving reason is you and the reason why you do it. And, for me, I think you'll find a lot about yourself in that process. And the reason why this links to sales is because it all comes back to your self-confidence, comes back to your self-belief.
And that's it. If you try and sell like somebody else, then you won't like it. And you won't get the success that they had. You have to pick out, you've heard me say this before, the phrase I always use is, look, there are 10 ways to sell. But if John likes doing 4 of them, why on earth would you do the other 6? Never going to work for him, never going to put the passion behind them, never going to go the way he wants it to. Find the ways that work for you and get good at them.
And double down, right? Like a lot of the time.
That's one thing when I say about follow the process is find the way of selling that works for you. I know it's easy for me to say sitting here, but find the way of selling that works for you, that gets you regular customers and you're happy about doing it that way, saying those things, sending a message, whatever, whatever your process is. It could be social media post, follow up, doesn't matter what it is. But find the process that works for you, that you're happy to do, that you'll do regardless of who's watching, and then just go for it. I used to argue it crazily with an old sales director friend of mine. He would say, practice makes perfect. And I went, no, it doesn't. Because what if you're doing it wrong? If you practice it, it's still wrong. So actually, perfect practice makes perfect. Find the way that works for you. That got, I did these 10 things and I got a client. Great. I'll do that again 4 times next month and get foot. That's what I want to say, follow the process. Find the way of selling that works for you and just go for it.
I mean, it reminds me of a quote when you said practice makes perfect, because it's not true. Practice makes improvement, right, is the key. And, talking about processes quickly, I think it's important to have these written down, important to have them, because let's say you're right, not everyone's going to sell the same, but if you're bringing in someone to do sales for you, to scale your time, to scale the ability for you to have 2 sales calls every hour, for example, instead of 1, you shouldn't frame it as a sales call. That's what it is, a sales call, right? Conversation that will increase revenue, whatever, however you want to frame it, right? The crux is the reason why you have a process is you say, this is the process I've done, this is the process we follow, and
we know this
works. What do you think? Do you think this is going to work for you? Do you think we need to tweak it for you, etc.? But if you don't have a flow chart, a written document, a video, a whatever,
if you've not got a foundation to build from, what are you telling them?
Yeah, and it's one of these things about talking about scaling, and I think that the reason why we do so much content is it's one of the best ways to scale a message. Is I can film this once and then it can sit online for the next 4.5 years and still generate me interest. Right, like, and for me, people go, "Oh, the channel's really small," and etc. It's like, well, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber, guys. Like, if I was trying to be a YouTuber, I'd make search relevant content that explodes in the search engine.
I'm not taking over ITV here. I'm just.
I'm not interested in getting millions of subs. That's not my revenue stream. My revenue stream is creating a catalyst of interest that gets me the right attention to then potentially lead into my business, to then mean I can sell to them or help them or make their life or their business run better or grow or whatever the metric or however you want to articulate it. And I think that's the important point, because people say to me all the time about vanity metrics, or we talk about, things in marketing where we go, oh, you've only got, 10 views, or you've only got 5, or etc. Well, yes, but if that is the right 10 people.
But if one of those 10 become a client, thank you very much.
You know what I mean? Like, it's about, and when you put the volume of content out that I do, every post isn't going to go crazy and every post isn't going to go, The fact of the matter is I'm probably going to get the least interaction out of everyone because I'm posting daily. Right? People don't have enough time to sit there and, even if they love my content, they're not going to sit there and watch my content. The point of having posting daily is show up every day so that you're in people's feeds every day, but also when a new client sees you or finds you, you have a load of content that will be distributed to them.
There's billions of, exactly.
And they can binge watch you if they want to, right? So they can quickly understand who you are and what you do. That's the point. The point is never, I'm going to post a piece of content and then it's going to magically make me lost.
But the point is, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, it's consistency. Sales is consistent. If you are consistently there, then when they do find you, there's a whole lot of consistent stuff they can read to get a feel for you and how you work. Like, okay, I like that. Let me talk to him. It's consistency again, Colin.
And and it's the same when you're building anything, right? Like people want, we're in a social media world where it's like, I want 1 million followers, I want this, I want that, I want so on, and I'm like, I kind of get why, I get it, but actually, what is it going to do if you, let's say I gave you 1 million followers tomorrow, right? What's that going to do for the bottom line of your business with the wrong people? Probably not.
We've convinced ourselves that likes, followers, whatever you call it, it is, oh, that's a good thing. I've got, 25 million followers. Great. How many of those are giving you money? How many of those are buying your thing from you or your service or your knowledge or whatever? None? Great. Well, that's fairly useful then, isn't it? I would rather
It's
have
great for your ego.
zero. I don't need an ego. Do you know what I mean? I'm a sales trainer. I got past that, But it is, I've got, you want ego. I've been on radio shows, podcasts like this, stood on stage in Nottingham Motorpoint Arena. There's 3 books. We can do the ego thing if you want. And some of that, don't get me wrong, some of that will gain me clients.
But there's a difference between ego and profile building, right? Like profile building is something which you do for credibility and you do for a meaningful purpose, I believe, more than an ego, And I'll put on the record now, I'm working on something which is very close to me and very close to, from a talk point of view, very close to me and my journey and what I've gone through. That I've already alluded to in our previous conversation. But, for me, that's not to gain attention. That's not to gain sympathy. That's not to gain, like, look at the views, look at the attention, look at all this. Like, will I potentially get work from it? Yes, sure. Because we're going to film it all and we're going to distribute it as content and it'll be part of the brand. Fine. Yes. Will I potentially get speaking gigs from it? Potentially. Yes. Fine. Will that potentially become a revenue stream for me? Yes. Potentially. Fine. Is the core reason why I'm doing it anything to do with that? No, not at all. The reality of why I'm doing it is for the meaningful change and the inspiration and the actual meaningful change I want to make in the world. That's why I'm doing it, and that's the reason why I would do it, whether I'm getting paid, whether I'm not getting paid, whether I'm doing it to 2 people or 10,000 people, doesn't matter. For me, if I can change one person's life, then it's worthwhile.
I get asked, as you want, I get asked probably once a week to speak at this event or that network or whatever else, do this show, that show, and my answer is always the same. As I said to you, if I'm free, absolutely I'll do it. Because like you, if what we're saying today helps one of your listeners get better at sales and therefore increase their business, then I'm happy. I've done my job. It's as simple as that. I don't do this because I look pretty in the t-shirt or because this, that, and the other. I'll do it because I know I can help small businesses get better at this scary sales stuff and therefore improve their business and therefore improve their life because they earn better. And yet that's what I do it for, because some people don't understand sales. We talked before, there's a mass amount of psychology, etc., behind sales and the why you say this bit and the perception, all that kind of stuff that would take us 3 hours worth of talking, but nobody wants that. But actually, people understand that it's not the scary thing you think it is. If you do it in a way that suits you, it becomes not scary at all. And it becomes, I was told when I first started working with myself, do at least one thing every day that improves your business. Be that posting something or going to something, just one thing every day. That's 5 things a week. It's not a lot. Do more if you can, but at least one thing every day that improves your business or gets you out there or whatever else it might be. Yeah. If you get into that mind frame, it becomes the normal day. When you get in the morning, you flick on it, you check your LinkedIn post, you do that one thing, it's done then. But it's got to be in a way that suits you.
And it kind of brings you back to the, let's talk about income generating activities, right? That doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm going to have a conversation that leads on to me making money necessarily, right? That might just be simply clearing your inbox. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Etc. Right? Because then it gives you, and the reason, why do 95% of people go into business? So they can have the freedom and control over their own lives, speaking personally, right? Yeah. I'm in a very lucky and fortunate position. I'm very grateful to be in the position I'm in where I get to make more money than I could at a job, but have all of the benefits of working for myself. All of them. Yeah. Right? Control, freedom, so on, so on, so on. I work a lot. Yes, that's out of choice, not because I need to, right? Because I'm trying to grow and so on and so on. I don't need to do 95% of the things I do, right? If I wanted to just sustain, I could work 2 days a week, right? I don't because I'm looking to grow and I'm looking to build something larger and more meaning and so on and so on.
Yeah.
But also I get more fulfillment out of doing it. It's not just for me that, you know, and there's been a lot of talk at the moment in the press and in my circles anyway about like lifestyle businesses versus like core passion businesses. And that's why I keep saying to people, it's like, look, this recession, if you're a lifestyle business, maybe you getting a job isn't a bad thing in this recession.
Yeah.
But getting a job is not a bad thing. Having that security is not a bad thing. If you're what I would describe as a pure blood entrepreneur, and this is what you know and this is what you thrive on and you're in it for the game, this recession will be incredibly fun for you because you'll love it, right? Because you'll be like,
what can we do today?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you'll be like, you'll see the challenge and go, right, let's go, let's do it, let's see what you know, what stereotypes or what stuff.
But that always makes me laugh at that when people will say, you know, see them on like Dragon's Den or, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, but what do you do?
Oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur. Well,
I'm an entrepreneur. But what do you do? You know, what great, you mean you're entrepreneurial, right? So in your entrepreneurial mindset, what do you do to create revenue? I'm an entrepreneur. You're not listening to me. What do you do? Because in theory, we're both entrepreneurs because we started a business of our own and off we go. That's being entrepreneurial. Now, I make my money by training people. We both know how you do your, you know, so yes, we might be entrepreneurs at the very start of it, but I went from being an entrepreneur by starting to be a sales trainer. So when I say, who says what you do? I don't go, I'm an entrepreneur. I say I'm a sales trainer because that's how I make my money.
And the thing is, for me, like, I found out very early that I wasn't going to fit into a normal box in respect to why I answer to a boss, etc., etc., etc. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of have to be an entrepreneur then and I want to be, and I feel like I should be, and so on and so on.
Because nobody wants me.
Well, maybe that's the truth as well. But I think the main crux there is like, actually, for me, I knew that I wanted to lead. I wanted to be in that position, and that's fine. But also, it goes the other way. Some people are not cut out and it isn't right for them to be an entrepreneur. Right? Or
not everyone wants to change what they do. Yeah, most people are quite happy, and forgive me, to plod along and they have a job that they enjoy most of the time, that pays their bills, and they'll get a nice pension. And 80% of people are quite happy with that. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are just a few of us that want to make that point for ourselves.
And, you know, as I say, and that's why I call it, we're in it for the game. We're actually not in it for monetary value or fame or whatever. And the thing is, with entrepreneurship especially, it's become this culture-based thing, a social status thing, where it's like, oh, I own a business and I'm cool, and look at me. And it's like what I've been saying for a while now. It's like, actually, this recession will cut all of those people out because they're not going to put in the hours, they're not going to put in the work, they're not going to be in it for the right reasons, they're not going to have the passion, they're not going to have the fire, however you want to articulate it. They're in it for the status, they're not in it for the game. And I think the important part here is, for those listening, if you resonate with the status more than the game, potentially question what you're in business for, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and potentially would it be you be better served at a job, or is it actually you're just not doing the right thing in your business, right? That might be the other option. It might be actually you're not in the right business. That's fine. Yeah. That's cool. Change it, pivot it. You're in complete control. Yeah. When you gain control of your mind, you're in complete control of your day-to-day. Whether you're in a job, whether you're in work of yourself, whatever, right? It's you, right? Like when someone says something, oh, that really annoyed me, you gave them the power for it to annoy you, right? You can't control whether that person's going to say it. No, you can control how you react, right? And then what you articulate and how you communicate, right? Like, and I think for me, as someone who basically does communication for a living, I think it's really important to make sure that you're very honest when you communicate, but also not change who you are. Because people have said to me, oh, I don't like the way you swear, I don't like some of the terminology you use, and I'm like, that's cool. That's all good. No, like genuinely, place of love, all good, right? Maybe I'm not the right person for you. That's cool. The important point is to make sure that I'm not changing who I am, right? Because if I start conforming, then I'm going to get unhappy because I'm like, oh, I've never been this person, I can't do this. If I'm true to myself always and being, in marketing terms we call it authentic self, then I will connect with the right people who get it, right? Because okay, if swearing is a deal breaker for you, then don't wear with me because I'm going to swear. Naturally, I'm going to. Sorry,
just so we know,
right? I'm going to, right? Because that's who I am, right? But that doesn't mean that that's necessarily a negative connotation. I'm doing it out of place of malice. I'm doing it because that's just the language I choose to use, right? That's how I articulate myself, right?
Well, that's it. Well, if you think about that in terms of sales, So there are people who I've spoken to who I didn't train because I thought, no, do you know what? You're not going to listen. This isn't going to help. I'm not going to help you because you won't listen. There's no point us doing this, Not going to do it just so, oh, that gets me a few quid. If I think, do you know what? Carlton's not listening to me now, let alone before we start training. It's going to be hard work. I don't need that. It won't help him. That's what. But in terms of sales, it's like, right, what you say and how you say it is perceived by the person you're saying it to. If they don't like how you say it, they'll respond, if you like, badly to it or negatively. But if they understand how and why you say it, and the perception of them is, okay, I like how he's thinking, then there's your client. I said before, there's a massive psychology behind sales, and it's very much about almost what you don't say sometimes, or the perception it gives, or the thing you hint at that makes me, okay, I quite like that. So yeah, the way you say things, that perception for the person is massive in sales.
And I think it's a really important point. I mean, I don't mean to just branch it off into life as well, but the same is true in life, right? Whenever a relationship we have in life, the way we articulate ourselves, and I always say to people, look, I don't care what your opinion is as long as you articulate it respectfully. That's it. That's the only rule with me, right? We don't have to agree on anything. As long as you're respectful when you articulate it to me, I don't care. Because that's the point. The point of meaningful change, the point of having dialogue is to share an opinion. It's the same in...
Push your beliefs onto me and I'll do you the same on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say, okay, I don't believe this reality. I don't believe in that part of your belief system. Not to say that you shouldn't believe it. Yeah. You're entitled to believe it and you should believe it. Yeah. But, and the point I always make is, if you are going to be a better person by being like, personally I'm not religious, but if you are a better person by being religious, great, fantastic, be religious. Yeah. Right? Fantastic. Personally, that doesn't do it for me. That's cool. That's good. All good. Right? But this is, I think, the issue sometimes in our current society, because we're in a position where people can get very vile, very heated, very kind of vendetta-ish, or very personal attacky, instead of just making their articulated point and say, well, I disagree with you, or it becomes a bit passive aggressive. So it's like they're not actually like being disrespectful, but they're like borderline respectful out of like spite, because they're in the situation where they need to be respectful because socially it wouldn't work for them, but they don't want to be respectful, so it ends up being passive aggressive. And I think,
but if you take that into a sales scenario, if you are completely convinced that your thing is the right thing for them, and you start arguing with them, that sale's never going to happen.
Well, the thing is, it's and this is what I say to people all the time. It's like, actually, people go, "Oh, how do you deal with like when you don't get a job or when you don't get a bid?" And I'm like, we obviously weren't the right solution. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, it's not my job to say you have to hire me because, right? That's down to the client. If we're the right decision and we're the right people and we're the right solution
for them,
then they'll hire. Then they'll make that decision and we'll win the job. That's it. There is no other reality. It's like, yeah, you tick all the boxes for them. Fantastic. We'll work together. You don't tick all the boxes for them. Okay, that's cool. Someone else did. Congratulations. Well done. Hope it goes well. And I think there's a kind of sub argument there, or sub part of that as well, which is important to say, which is actually, is there a way you can learn from that? If you're not the solution, why are you not the solution? Why were you not the full-on solution? And actually, do you want to be that solution? Right? Firstly, you need to understand, were you not? And then also, why weren't you? We had a job about a month ago that we didn't win, and I can categorically tell you exactly why. Because we weren't the full-on solution, and we weren't going to project manage the whole project, and I couldn't be the solution for everything they needed in that project. It wasn't got nothing to do with price. It had everything to do with the fact that I wasn't giving them the carefree reality that they were looking for. Yeah. That was the crux. That was the point. It had nothing to do with the price. I could have doubled the price, and it would have if I had fixed their problem fully, it wouldn't have mattered.
Mattered, yeah.
And I think,
but that would be value. Point two, you showed them value, yeah. But to pick up what you're saying about you might not be the right solution for them, you think about the fifth point I made. Don't panic. You are not going to sell to everyone. So one, don't panic about it. Don't lose any sleep over it. It is what it is. Welcome to the world, But the other things you can add into that is, look, if you don't win 5 jobs in a row, do yourself a favor, sit back and go, what's going wrong? What am I saying that's putting people off? What am I not saying that they're missing? Because ideally, you'll find them go, right, when I say that sentence, they don't buy. Right, I'll stop saying that then. But if you don't have that process that we talked about before, and you've done the other bits, you won't know what's going wrong. And you'll get frustrated, blah, blah,
And then
blah.
and then you'll lose consistency, and then you so on.
Exactly. You have to be able to step back and look at what's going wrong, but also you've got to be strong enough to go, do you know what? They're not for me. Tell you what, the first time that you walk away from a prospective client is quite scary because I've just thrown money away. What am I doing? But actually, it's what we always used to call the customers who want platinum service but want to pay aluminium prices. They are the hardest ones to work with. I had one when I first started, and all the guys said to me, don't work with this guy. He's a complete pain. It'll be hard work. It'll drive you mad, Stu. I thought, I know. I'll do my proposal. Whatever I come up with, I'll just double it. That'll put him off. Did it, bugger. He went, great. I'm like, damn. And then I went, I'm getting double. Who cares? But so, you have to know when to walk away. And this is the thing with sales. People think they've got to push it right to the last minute until they said, it's sales works if you do it in your own way. If you find a way that works for you and keep doing it, that's how you'll get that consistent success with your sales and your business, no matter what you sell. But don't try and be someone else. Don't try and do the method somebody else is you in. Don't read a book and go, oh, that worked. The last book I wrote, Can't Sell Well To, it's written away. Look, here's the idea. Put it together yourself. Here's the stuff you can do. Pick the ones that you like and do those. Because I'm not about to tell anybody, right, you must sell at this, because it doesn't work that way.
No, and I think it's also about, for me, it's about creating, and when we talk about consistency, we're increasing the probability that we're going to win, right? That's why consistency is important. It's got nothing to do with, you need to be consistent. It's everything in life is a probability. You do more output, the probability of you winning. You
can't be consistent just for the sake of being consistent. It's follow the process. When you've got something that works, right? So I did those 5 things and I got a client. Right, I'll do those again then. Now you've got consistency. But you don't panic because you won't get them all.
And it's the same when it comes to, I think that business owners when they started out, and I was very like this in the first couple of years of my business, I was like, I'm never going to sell a client, I'm never going to sell it, but also I'm never going to sack a client, right? Like the concept of sacking a client is something really interesting. Because sometimes you actually have been working with someone for 4 or 5 years and you've both grown and the businesses have grown or whatever, or, what you need from them isn't exactly aligning, and no matter how you negotiate or how you have a communication method with them, it just doesn't work and they're unhappy and etc. And at that point, you need to go, actually, you're not happy. Actually, I'm not happy. Actually, this isn't working. So thank you very much for the business, but let's part ways. If you want to come back to the table at some point, let's have that conversation when the timing's right. However, right now, I feel like you're unhappy and I feel like the best thing to do is us to part ways. Right? That's not a personal thing. That's not saying, hey, I don't want to talk to you. Hey, I don't want you around, whatever.
It's a sensible business decision.
That's just saying, look, you're paying for a service. You're clearly unhappy with the service and this is going to build resentment if we continue it. So let's not. It's that simple. And I think when you get to the point of having the confidence, which all comes from the stuff we discussed today, of saying that's okay and I don't mind that, that's when you win, because and you trust yourself to say, yes, I may not have any clients, or yes, I've just had to sack 3 clients or 4 clients, but then you go, okay, but what does the opportunity of time that I now have because of that mean that I can get client-wise, right? And
I have a process and a routine I can follow that gets me the clients I want.
Yeah, and those clients, and we get very kind of, I love the clients I work with, etc., 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 and I do as well. But the thing is, I know that the clients I'm working with right now are not going to be the clients I'm going to be working with in 3 years, because we're going to grow, we're going to scale, we're going to want larger businesses to work with from a financial point of view. It has nothing to do with value as a human being. It has everything to do with the fact that there is monetary value attached to what we do, and if we're getting better at it, that monetary value should increase in the same way with you, and so on, right? And I think that's the for me anyway, that was the really, really big, like, this is a big factor. And the one thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up was, there's a difference, and I think you alluded to it earlier, which is the actual value you're worth in respect to monetary value, and then market conditions allowing you to charge that. They're very different things, because something that people are going to maybe misunderstand about this recession is they're going to sit on their high horse going, I am worth $2,000 and I need to charge $2,000. And you very well may be worth $2,000. Ask yourself this. Exactly. Ask yourself a very simple question. Do you have enough of the clients who can afford to pay you $2,000 for whatever it is that you're going to give them for $2,000 right now? If the answer is no, you cannot charge $2,000. You have to come down. You have to come down for the time being because of the financial reality that everyone is living through. This is a short-term thing. Give it another year and a half, maybe 2 years, and it will be fine again, right? This is what happens with the economy. It goes in cycles. Big boom, everything's worth lots of money and all things are good and everything goes up. Everything goes down again. It resets, it recorrects, right? The problem that my generation has right now is we've only known a good economy. We don't know what it's like when it gets hard. We don't. Genuinely, our adult working life, we've only known up. My stock market's gone up, my house prices have gone up, my wages have gone up, everything. But the costs have stayed the same or been in line. But now we're seeing a world where they're not staying in line, and people are going, "Oh my God, the world is over." Especially my generation, because we don't know what that's like. And what I would suggest to people, if they are in my generation, to do that is look at history. Like, this is what I did. I literally looked at history and went, right, has this happened before? Yes. Is everyone still alive? Yes. Is this going to get as bad as the 60s, where, it was a lot worse, or the 80s, or etc. Right? No. No, it's not. So, actually, in the grand scheme of the world, is it worse than it was maybe 2 years ago? Yes. Was this going to happen when you print money? Yes. Are we going to get through it? Also, yes. There we go.
And in terms of getting through it, I'll say the same thing now as I said when the pandemic kicked in, we were locked down. The best way to get through it is to learn to sell your wares properly. You will have to trade out of it. And if you know how to sell, your trade, we've joked, my partner is a hairdresser, and we've always joked that you drop us anywhere you like, as long as I can talk and she's got a pair of scissors, we're all set. The only way you'll survive, if that's the word I want to use, through any economic crashes or pandemics, whatever, is to trade out of it, is to keep going, is to pull on your big boy pants and sell properly in a way that we've talked about, showing value on the. If you show enough value, people will pay for it. If you show them value and how it will help their business succeed through whatever situation we're in, then you will do well.
And also, as a really founder point, if someone's going to take this away, I mean, there's loads of takeaways here, but one thing I would want people to take away is be ridiculously patient, right? Be ridiculously patient with the results, because they will come if you're consistent and you work hard and etc. And people ask me all the time, "How are you getting through the economy? How did you get through COVID?" I just worked through it. Like, just don't piss around. Just put the hours in. It's not that hard.
Stop sulking about it.
Right, like
I said, big boy pants, you get on with it.
It's just get the stuff you need to get done. Like, and if you don't know, then find people who you can talk to work out what those things are. Yeah, exactly. Business is just a level of strategic plays followed by each other that have a result. That's it. That's what business is. You set things up 6 months ahead of time. Ooh, surprise! Those things happened, right? You have
I'll shorten that for you even more if you like. I remember talking to a client of mine. I have a business degree, right? And 3 years, and he said to me, "Business is easy. You've got to make more than you spend." That's it. How you go about that, that's all the ballgame. But the basic principle is, if you are making more than you're spending, you're doing all right.
Yeah. I mean, there's risk profile stuff here, and there's like how you invest and so on and so on. But in crux, that is it. Yes. And you need to be aware of market conditions, right? Like, the risks you can take when a market is good are very different to the risks you should be taking when a market's bad, right? This is why sometimes businesses go under, because they're taking risks that they could do in a good economy because they know they're going to get the work, or they're going to put the work in, or whatever, because there's more work around. And then they're doing that in a bad economy, which in turn means they might not, default on debt, or they run into issues.
As I say quite often, read the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And and the economy, as a final point, it fell quick. 3 months, it went from being really, really good to really, really bad, right? And that's not an excuse; that's a reality, right? And I think for me, it's about, for me, I changed my perspective looking at our final books for the year and went, okay, actually, we've done basically the same as what we did last year, and actually, that's a pretty good achievement considering,
that's not
considering the economy is basically shrunk by 20%. It's like, actually, you're actually 20% up. If you've done what you did this year, you're actually 20% up on what you did because there's 20% less work, right? So, I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation and thank you for the time. Appreciate it. But
my pleasure.
for those people who are interested in those conversations, getting in touch with training, getting in touch with seeing the book, seeing more content, etc., where's best for the people to continue this conversation?
You could, well, our website is thesalestrainer.uk. You'll find us there, obviously. And my LinkedIn, just search for Stuart Pearce, and I'm there.
Any final thoughts? Any final messages?
Do it your own way. Don't try and follow and copy somebody else. Find a way that works for you. Think about those 5 things I mentioned. Find the way that works for you and just go for it. Be consistent. You'll be fine.
Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. I hope you took value from that episode and can now increase revenue in your business. And I wish you a prosperous rest of the month. And I will see you very, very soon for some brand new content. And of course, if you would like to hear how video can help your business in 2023, then make sure to find my information somewhere around this video. And I'll see you very, very soon.